race to join Liverpool in the Champions League is hot to bloody trot with Nottingham Forest dropping a clanger, as did Chelsea. Who's going to take full advantage this week? We're going to take a little look next. That's right, folks, back once again with another prediction video. Today we enter the penultimate game of the Premier League campaign with the spots in the Champions League, the biggest prize left on the table. Who's going to, of course, take full advantage? We'll get to that in a second. If you're new where you've been, smash your subscribe button. One-stop shop for Blackburn Rovers, Premier League, World Football. We're going to all hear under one Rooski. That's right. There's still a whole bunch of teams still in the thick of things competing for the 5 Champions League spots. We already know Liverpool are done and dusted, but Arsenal could even choke second spot, goodness gracious me, in a bit of a grandstand finish for them. We'll take a look at it, all of it in a second. Big shout out to the members, big shout out to the Patreons, you know who you are. But what we're going to do now, though, is revisit my predictions, of course, and then, of course, plough on forward to the next round of games. So what we're going to do, where are we going to go? Where is it? There it is. Let's get into it then, shall we? Talking about this, it is the Premier League. We are back. And, of course, we're back for a bit of a clanger. What am I talking about? Well, I'm telling you, we're talking about the results, and they should be on the screen any second. Excuse me. Now, golly. There it is. Press the right button. Look at that. Everton with a 3-1 win over Fulham. I went with a draw. Brentford did beat Ipswich 1-0. I went with a 2-0 win. So look at that result. It might not mean much in the grand scheme of things, but Southampton 0, Man City 0 is pretty damning, if you don't say so myself. Brighton with a 2-0 win away to Wolves. I went the other way. Villa did beat Bournemouth to keep themselves in the mix of a Champions League spots. Newcastle with a 2-0 win over Chelsea. That's a clinical result right there. And Man United. Wait till you see the table. Man United losing to West Ham. It's so funny. Forest, I know it's not as funny as where we are, but anyway, Forest did draw with Leicester. Again, goodness me. Palace did beat Tottenham, and Liverpool did draw with Arsenal as predicted. So, yeah, crazy results. Doesn't sound much of a crazy deal, but it is. Just look at this table, and forget about the top for a second. Look, just look down here. Can you see my mouse? You can't see my mouse, but I'm trying to showcase you where Tottenham and Manchester United are. They are on the best of the worst of the rest. You know, golly, how bad is it? They could. I really would love to see Man United finish 17th. It looks like something bad when they had no players or something. It just looks like a nightmare. But they've got players. They've got decent players. They're paying a shit ton load of money for those players, and they are down there into 16th spot. It is, I don't know. It is rotten to the core. I don't know what's going on with Spurs either. You don't think that they're as bad. You know, but what a miserable season. And it all goes down to the last game. The Premier League, they don't give two shits right now. It's down to the Europa League final, which is, of course, not far away. What a grandstand finish we have. One of those teams will be partying in the Champions League next season. That's how mad. Not 4 from the top, there's 4 from the bottom. Could get Champions League. Let's focus on the Champions League table for 4 right here, right now. As you see it, Arsenal, who take on Newcastle this weekend, could lose second spot to the Geordies. They could squeak in there the last gasp here, and then look at the rest of the packs here. It's top 5 up the mix of Aston Villa 1 in on it, Forest 1 in on it. Just 1 point separate the Forest from Chelsea. Man City could still mathematically drop out of it. It's just still balmy. You can't write off anything right now. But anyway, that is that. Of course, the table, we're doing Prediction League. We keep on doing it. We'll bring you an update next time. But these are the next round of games, and we're going to get into them right here, right now. Some ding-dong crackers as well to look forward to. So let's start with Aston Villa against Tottenham. That's a beast. That's a spicy one as well. Now, this one got rearranged, courtesy of the Europa League. Maybe brought forward, I think. But anyway, Aston Villa will go to... we'll be hosting Tottenham Hotspur, Commercial Villa Park. Unai Emery's boys are 6 with 63 points for the season. Tricky one, this game. They've won 4 and lost 2 of the last 6. Up against Spurs, who are coming into just 1 win in the last 3 matches. They are 17th with 38 points. They played 60 times since 1993. 19 wins Villa, 28 wins for Tottenham. There's been 13 draws between the two sides. Last time around, these two sides played at Villa Park in the league. It was a 4-0 win for Spurs back in March 2024. The reverse fixture this season was a 4-1 win for Spurs back in November 2024. So they've scored 8 goals against Villa in the last 2 Premier League matches. But they did play in the FA Cup this season, and Villa come out on top with a 2-1 win. Now, looking at the last couple of games here, back-to-back wins for Villa, back-to-back clean sheets as well, up against the Spurs side, who did pick up a win against Bournemouth, but they did lose to Crystal Palace. Now, the bookies' odds for this one find it tight. When they don't find it tight, they back Villa quite handsomely here. And again, all focus. You don't really want to. You probably play your reserve keeper. You probably play all your second-string side here and go for broke in the last game of the season. I'm going to go with a 2-0 win for Villa here, which will put them in a good spot for the Champions League. So let's get into the next one. It is Chelsea up against Manchester United, who could do the same. And realistically, you also got to think about that. You got to think about who actually, yes, you would celebrate winning the Europa League, getting in the Champions League by finishing the next from the bottom of the relegation spots. But that's what could happen here with Man United or Spurs. Anyway, Chelsea come into this under Enzo Marquesca. They are 5th right now, 63 points for the season, just 1 defeat in the last 6. They're on 83% form. They're on a good bit of form, bar the last game. Man United, though, coming into this under Ruben Amorim. They are 16th right now, 39 points for the season. Just 1 win in the last 3. They've played 81 times, these two clubs. 27 wins for Chelsea, 26 wins for Man United. It's been 28 draws. Very, very tight between these two sides. Last time around, over at Stamford Bridge, it was a 4-3 win for Chelsea back in April 2024. The reverse fixture this season at Old Trafford was a 1-1 draw back in November. Chelsea, though, on the back of that 2-0 loss to Newcastle. United on the back of a 2-0 loss to West Ham. But both sides are prepping for their own European final here. As, of course, we try to do, England trying to pick up 2 of the 3 trophies in Europe. Bookies odds for this one, they'll go with Chelsea, of course they would, and I probably imagine that was what I've gone with as well. 3-1 win Chelsea, which does put Man United very, very close to being next from bottom or next from relegation spots. Let's go to the next one then, shall we? It is Everton up against Southampton, of course, coming at Goodison, the final game of Goodison. A good one as well for Everton to go out, hopefully in style, up against the Southampton side managed by Simon Rusk. They played 49 times since 1993. 20 wins for Everton, 18 wins Southampton. There's been 11 draws between the two sides. Everton, though, coming into this 13th in the table, 42 points for the season. Back-to-back games without a loss up against Southampton, who've drawn 2 of the last 4 matches. So for them, not bad form. But they played 49 times. The last that they played at Goodison in the league, it was a 2-1 win for Southampton back in January 2023. In fact, Southampton have won 3 on the spin against Everton, so not their best prep. They've actually just lost once against them in the last 5. So Southampton like playing Everton. Everton on the back of that 3-1 win over Fulham. Southampton with that 0-0 draw against Man City, but they've only scored 1 goal in the last 3 matches. Bookies, though, will back Everton to bow out in style, and I too will give that to them as well. 2-0 winners. Everton taking a big old leap and a big farewell to Goodison Park. Let's go West Ham up against Fulham. Nope, scrap that, flip it around and reverse it. West Ham United up against Nottingham Forest, coming over at the London Stadium. Of course, West Ham trying to get ahead of Manchester United, trying to break away, should we say. Graham Potter's boys have not been the best of form right now. 15th at the table, 40 points for the season, just 1 defeat though in the last 4. Up against Nottingham Forest and Nuno Espirito Santo, just 1 win the last 6. The season's kind of fallen apart here right at the end. Even the owner come on the field there in the last game against Leicester. Not very, very happy, are they? So 22 times they played, 12 wins West Ham, 6 wins Forest. 4 draws between the two sides. Last time around, over at the West Ham ground, it was a 3-2 win for the Hammers back in November 2023. The reverse fixture at the City ground this season, Nottingham Forest. The reverse fixture over at the City ground was a 3-0 win for Nottingham Forest back in November 2024. Coming into this, Forest on the back of that 2-2 draw against Leicester. Opportunity missed there. It's actually been back-to-back draws for them. Winners in 4. Up against the Hammers, who did pick up a 2-2 win over United. Very, very tight in the bookies. They do give it to Nottingham Forest, but only just. I've gone with the draw here, which doesn't do any hope for that Champions League spot. Brentford up against Fulham. Let's get into this one then, shall we? At the Community Stadium. Thomas Frank's boys going under the radar. They are 8th right now, 55 points for the season. They've won 4 on the spin, unbeaten in at least the last 6. Up against the Fulham side, we've kind of gone off the boil here somewhat. 11th in the table, 51 points for the season. They've only won once in the last 5. They've lost 4 of the last 5. They played 19 times since 2014. 9 wins Brentford, 6 wins Fulham. There's been 4 draws between the two sides, including the last time they played at the Community Stadium, a 0-0 draw back in May 2024. The reverse fixture, a 2-1 win for Fulham at Craven Cottage. But coming into this, Fulham on the back of that 3-1 loss to Everton. Winless in the last 2. Brentford though on the back of that 1-0 win over Ipswich. Grinding out some wins on the road here. They've scored 8 goals in the last 2 home matches, so maybe they're going to add to that as well. Bookies think so. They think they'll win this game, and I've gone with a 2-1 win for Brentford to make it another win in the bank for Thomas Frank's boys. Let's go Leicester up against Ipswich. These two sides will be playing Championship football next season, but who will be in the dugout? Rue van der Stroe's boys are 19th right now with 22 points for the campaign. Up against a Ipswich Town side under Kieran McKenna on 18th with 22 points as well. 31 times they have played since 1995. 10 wins Leicester, 12 wins Ipswich. Ipswich. 9 draws between these two sides. Last time around, over at the King Powers, a 1-1 draw back in January 2024. That was in the Championship. The reverse fixture this season over at the Portman Road, it was a 1-1 draw back in November. In fact, the last 3 matches between these two sides all ended up 1-1. Coming into this, though, Leicester on the back of that 2-2 draw is Forest. Ipswich losing to Brentford last time around, but the last away match was a draw themselves. The bookies, very tight on this one. They'll go with Leicester. Of course, got tails up a little bit from that come from behind result or draw against Forest. I've gone with a 1-0. Gone with the 1-0 win myself for Leicester to overtake Ipswich in the end of the Premier League season, or penultimate game of the Premier League season. Let's go. Where are we going now? We're going to go Arsenal against Newcastle. This has got spice to it on another level. That's right. Come out at the Emirates Stadium. That's right. Arsenal sitting second right now, 68 points for the campaign. They're winless in the last 5. Up against Newcastle, who are third on 66 points for the season. Just one defeat in the last 6. They played 65 times since 1993. 39 wins for Arsenal, 15 wins for Newcastle. There's been 11 draws between these two sides. Last time around at the Emirates, it was a 2-0 win for Newcastle. That was in the EFL Cup semi-final back in January 2025. They actually won back-to-back in those semi-finals. We'll get to that in a minute. They've actually played, this will be the 4th time they have played this season, and Newcastle have won the previous 3, and they've won them without conceding a goal. So they won 1-0 in the reverse fixture at St James's Park. They won the 2 legs, one in London and one in Newcastle, both 2-0 win scorelines there. But the last time they played at this very venue in the league, it was a 4-1 win for Arsenal back in February. Arsenal, though, on the back of that 2-2 draw against Liverpool. Newcastle on the back of that 2-0 win at home to Chelsea. Tight one here, but Arsenal are favoured with the bookies with that come from behind mentality. But I think they're going to lose this one. Oh, yeah, 2-1 win. Newcastle taking it to the house. Let's go Brighton, Hove Albion. They're taking on the champions. Of course, all eyes on this on Monday, the 19th of May. Brighton under Fabian Hutzler are 9th right now. 50% form for them right now. 1-2 lost it and drawn 2 over the last 6. Up against the Liverpool side under Arne Slot. Back-to-back games now without a win, but they don't give 2 shits, do they? Top of the pops, 83 points for the campaign. They played 19 times since 2011. 3 wins Brighton, 12 wins Liverpool. There's been 4 draws between these two sides. Last time around, at the Amex, it was in the league. It was a 2-2 draw back in October 2023. The reverse fixture this season was a 2-1 win for Liverpool back in November 2024. They also played in the EFL Cup at Brighton. It was a 3-2 win for Liverpool back in October as well. So Liverpool have actually won 3 on the spin against Brighton. Brighton on back of that 2-0 win, though, away to Wolves, and Liverpool with that 2-2 draw at home to Arsenal. The bookies, though, will back, give it to Liverpool, but just. And I think it's going to be a surprise in the card here. I'm going to go with a 2-0 win for Brighton, because Liverpool don't give 2 rat's asses about it anymore. They're on the beaches, they're celebrating, they're partying like it's 1995. Next up, though, we have the FA Cup finalists. It is Crystal Palace. A video already out there, so make sure you check that out. They're going to be taking on Wolves. Now, this match is on Tuesday, the 20th of May, after the FA Cup. The FA Cup will take place on the weekend of the 17th, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Crystal Palace and Oliver Glasner, they're 12th right now, 49 points for the season, unbeaten the last 5. Up against Wolves under Victor Pereira, back-to-back defeats for them. They are 14th in the table with 41 points. They played 45 times, these two clubs, since 1993. 20 wins for Palace, 16 wins for Wolves. There's been 9 draws. Last time around at this very venue in the league, it was a 3-2 win for Palace back in September 2023. The reverse fixture at Molineux, 2-2 draw it was back in November. Wolves on the back of that 2-0 win, 2-0 loss to Brighton. Back-to-back games now without a win, back-to-back clean sheets as well. Let's take all that back. Wolves coming into this on the back of that 2-0 loss to Brighton. It's actually back-to-back games now without a goal for Wolves. Palace on the back of that convincing 2-0 win away to Spurs, and they even rotated the squad a little bit, or maybe Spurs rotated the squad. Either way, it was a bit of a shambles, and Palace came out on top comfortably. The odds for this one: Palace should win this game according to them, but who knows? Priority is definitely on the FA Cup ahead of this game. This could be a bit of a hangover if they are victorious in their Wembley Spectacular. Gone with a 3-0 win for myself for Palace over Wolves. On this one, maybe to extend that party mode into another week. And finally, folks, it is also fellow FA Cup finalist Manchester City up against Bournemouth, of course. It is Manchester City up against Bournemouth, coming out of the Etihad Stadium. That's right, Pep Guardiola's boys are 4th in the table, 65 points for the season. Up against Bournemouth and Andy Oriola, who are 10th, 53 points for the season, just 1 defeat in the last 6. They played 17 times since 2015, 16 wins Man City, 1 win for Bournemouth, and there's been 0 draws between these two sides. Last time around, over at Man City, it was a 6-1 win for Manchester City back in November 2023. The reverse fixture this season at Bournemouth was a 2-1 win for Bournemouth back in November 2024. They also played in the Carabao Cup, or the EFL Cup, back in March in the quarterfinal stages. That was in the FA Cup. Sorry, it was a 2-1 win for City on their way through to the FA Cup final. The bookies' odds for this one, they go in heavily. In fact, for Man City, again, could come into this with a bit of a headache after a dismal season. They might have some silverware to celebrate, but they're on the back of a 0-0 draw against Southampton. They haven't conceded a goal in the last 3. Bournemouth, though, on the back of that loss to Villa. So tight one here, but it is at Man City, so I do expect them to win. I'm going to go with a 2-0 win for City. And again, that could add a bit of a spring to the step as the season comes to a close. And if I'm right, this is what the table will look like. It will be Liverpool in top spot. That cannot be caught. Then it's the Geordies in second. Arsenal down to third. With Man City into fourth, with a grandstand finish on the line in the final game of the season, with a couple spots in the Champions League still up for grabs, and Nottingham Forest on the outside looking in. Oh yeah, not ruling them out yet, but it does look like it's going to be a bridge too far for them. And of course, Manchester United could still finish in 17th spot. That's what we want. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Until then, subscribe, smash the like, catch you later. Back soon for the last game of the season, but until then, we're done.